That's why I'm not posing. I'm just leaving my face in the air. Ah, good, good. I'll go with that. I'll go with that approach.
Hey yo, starting in just a moment.
Proceed. Okay. Recording. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Here, real quick. What up? Super dope. Whew. Pull this over here. Make sure that this is working okay. I think it's working okay. Are we on TV yet?
We may just be.
Oh, wow. I think we are. All right, cool.
Okay.
All right, I think we're good. We're good live.
Perfect.
If you're in the chat or you're texting me, Dan, I see you in that chat, baby. Let me know how things sound from an audio perspective. If things are too low or too high, it's good for me to know.
We can adjust.
Yeah, good for me to know sooner rather than later. Also, I only popped one of my beers. What the hell? It's all right. Welcome into Dragon Ball Super Dope. My name is Kyle. Thank you for checking this out. So we're trying to do this thing once a month where we do a live stream on YouTube with my buddy Anthony Gramuglia from CBR.com.
What's up?
Hey, man, how are you?
Oh, not too bad, actually. It's been all right.
Yeah, man.
A little chaotic.
Chaotic in a good way, I hope, or?
It's been some news. It's been a mess this weekend, but for the most part, it's been okay.
Are you starting Weeb Wars 2020 right now?
Not weebs this time. More comic book, American comic nerds, but otherwise all right.
Yeah, I think so long as you got your practice strokes in last year. I can't stay long. Sorry, somebody just popped in. I can't stay long, but I wanted to pop in to show my support for you both and prove to myself why Ant is an adorable guy. I will catch up ASAP. That's from Alex Baxter Scott. Oh.
Oh yeah, he's a good dude.
Good dude. But he's obviously on your good side though. He's not one of these comic gate chuds that we're dealing with.
Oh God, no! Apparently, I'm the centerfold of a massive conspiracy theory. It's wild. I'm like every hairpin ties back to me in some strange way. It's wonderful.
Yeah, all the red string ties immediately back to Ant.
Yeah. Well, maybe not directly, more like off center.
Yeah, you're still on the periffs though, man. That's enough.
Oh yeah.
That's enough to have your Twitter account flagged to death.
Oh God. Well, thankfully I blocked most of them, so it's fine. Blockchains are really useful for that reason.
Yeah, man.
There's no fuss.
I started to say it. You got your practice strokes in last year. The Weeb Wars of 2019. That's when we became friends. The famous Vic Mignogna case. That was a good time.
Oh yes, the eggnog harassment case was very. There was some tortilla intent or whatever we were trying to torturous
intent. Yeah, dude. I learned so much about the law last year. Oh my God.
Oh my God, no, so much legal. And like a master's class would have been not as efficient as that.
And now T. Greg Doucette, super dope nerd news happy hour. T. Greg Doucette, the dude who was the main guy in the law thread last year.
Lawyer,
He's
amazing.
like been one of the central lawyers in the country documenting all the police brutality stuff going on since the end of May, beginning of June.
He's a brilliant dude. Like everything every time he posts something, I'm like always like, oh my God, he's such a good, cool dude too. I've never talked to him myself like one-on-one, but I know people who have. He seems like a chill guy all around.
Limited Twitter interaction for me, but T. Greg Doucette, we love you, baby. Respect. So, and you just outlined all of the really terrible things that I hate about Twitter, and basically all the things that make me really irregular in my social media use. So if you're somebody who tweets at us or like sends us messages sometimes or whatever, I do a really poor job checking out those things because Twitter is a toxic place, man. But
it can be exhausting.
It is
sometimes.
Yeah,
it can be very inspiring, but also very draining at times, depending on what you're looking at.
I got to be in the right headspace, and I have to be careful with what I'm looking at. So usually what happens, though, when I go on Twitter, it's usually the super dope Twitter. Otherwise, it's my own personal Twitter, which I don't use a ton, and that's usually politics-based stuff. So I know to not look at that very often. But with super dope stuff, I go on and it's going to be, a bunch of idiots talking about Dragon Ball. I'm pretty much used to that. A lot of Dragon Ball bad takes, I'm sure. And then I also run the risk earlier and earlier each month of having the latest Dragon Ball manga chapter spoiled for me. So usually it's, the chapter drops on the 20th each month. Usually by like the 17th or the 18th, a few panels or a few pages, leak sometimes. And you got enough to like piece together what's going to happen throughout the chapter, So if you're on Twitter between like the 16th and the 19th, I've bitched about this every month for the last several months. So if this is like me sounding like a broken record, good, cut it out. So we this month, however, it wasn't like an early page leak or an early panel leak. It was on the 12th, and it was sketches of panels, like really rough sketches of panels leaked out and spoiled portions of chapter 62 that's due to drop any day now. Since then, more pages have come out, and we kind of have a rough idea of what's going to happen in chapter 62. That's all a long way to say we're not going to be talking about that tonight. We're going to be talking about that in the next couple of weeks. I think Leonard's going to come back. But for chapter 61 last month, there was a big ruckus in the Twitter world between the 17th and the 19th or whatever. During this whole, you just spoiled Kyle's, first chance to take this manga in. I have to now do it through you, angry 20-year-old male on Twitter who's got nothing else to do except try to get some retweets about how pissed you are about this Vegeta panel. All right, am I getting too angry too early, you think?
Oh, we can get angrier.
Yeah. No, it's only going to go uphill. It's only going to go uphill from here. So, all right, shut the fuck up and focus here, Kyle. My point is, Twitter's the goddamn worst because it always spoils the manga. Last month, chapter 61, Vegeta has this moment they've been building towards over the last 4 or 5 chapters. That's kind of already been couched in a lot of ways because, they've said Goku hasn't mastered Ultra Instinct yet, but he will. Eventually, after Vegeta gets his ass whooped and Goku comes back and, wins the thing. Again, we're not talking about 62 tonight. So 61, Vegeta shows up and does a pretty nice job putting the ass whooping to Moro. And he has this monologue where basically he tells Moro, I'll see you in hell. Or I'm going to send you to hell. Excuse me, I think is how it starts. And Moro's like, what, you think you're not going to see me there? You think that you're not going to go to hell? And Vegeta's like, yeah, good point, huh? Killed lots of people. I literally used to be in the planet extermination business, like professionally. I was really good at it. Billions and billions and billions of people have died at my hand. Again, I was really good at it, got paid for it. Yeah, I'm probably going to go to hell. I'm a villain. Even though I'm standing here protecting the earth as a hero right now, I'm a villain. And man, did Twitter get pissed about that stuff. This is terrible. Way to completely undercut all of the character development Vegeta's had in Dragon Ball Super. The audacity. This series is terrible. At this point, Dragon Ball GT Vegeta is better than Dragon Ball Super Vegeta. What the? And I've been thinking about those tweets ever since. I mean, we're literally just over a month now since those tweets happened, or probably just coming up on a month. And I'm still pissed about it, Ant. So we were kind of hard up. We're trying to do these once a month, the live streams again. And I was trying to come up with a better topic for tonight, but this one just had me so pissed. And
I can see the rage already. And I may have some controversial opinions about both Dragon Ball Super Vegeta and Dragon Ball GT Vegeta.
Okay.
I will hold them off until we get to them, though. I mean, it might be controversial. I have no idea. I mean, really, if I said blues make a color, that'll probably piss someone off. The orange lobbyists have been trying to kill me for years. It's not going to work. Sorry. Blue's the opposite of orange. Not going to work out.
Yeah, man. I don't care if you like Goku and his orange stuff. It's
Oh, I meant like the color, but yeah, that works too.
Let's check on the chat real quick. Dan Berardi is fully encouraging me to get very angry. And yo, Brian Meltiori, what's up, baby? How you doing?
Get mad. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm gonna get real mad tonight. So, in case you couldn't tell, based off of how I've phrased this conversation or phrased the setup for this, I kind of am partial to Dragon Ball Super Vegeta. Um,
Mm,
Now there are things that kind of help Dragon Ball Super Vegeta a ton.
mm.
However, there are things that help Dragon Ball GT Vegeta in a lot of ways. I mean, fuck. I mean, I did this
An
show
amazing
outline.
mustache.
Yeah, the mustache is literally the first thing. Good. Mustached Jad Vegeta. That's the
Oh,
first bullet point under my good column. Um, and
mm,
if you want to take it one step further, we kind of still have Dragon Ball GT Vegeta through Dragon Ball Heroes and the Dragon Ball Zeno iterations of the characters of Goku and Vegeta. Like,
yeah,
that's GT Timeline Vegeta. So there are things that help GT Vegeta and Super Vegeta, but there are things that also hurt both of those characters.
yeah.
And
Neither of them are as good, I think, as the Z incarnation of Vegeta. I think the problem with Vegeta, especially more than any other character in Dragon Ball, is that by the end of Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta's arc is done. Like he's finished it. He's reached the climax of his arc. So everything else since then has either been retreading past ground or kind of just stalling at the place Z left off. And what's really weird about that is that this is one of the good things about why the Buu Saga. Because the thing is, everyone always talks about how Toriyama didn't want to write the Buu Saga. He was done after Cell. He was done after Frieza. And yeah, that's true. But the problem is um, that the Buu Saga gave them enough time to really wrap up Vegeta's arc perfectly. Like after that, he said everything he needs to say with that character. And sometimes the character arc finishing is really good. Like I know we're used to like continuous stories that continue on for very long periods of time. And Dragon Ball Z is a good example of that because it does continue so nicely from point to point. But Vegeta's arc is a good example of a story. Okay, we've reached the end, and then that's it. We're good.
and
I think though
I'm sorry.
that's
Go
the
ahead.
only character. Oh, I was gonna say I think that's the only character that really has that conclusive arc in Z. I don't think any other character has as neatly a concluded arc as Vegeta does at the end of Dragon Ball Z. I think that's like a perfect finale point when he's watching Kid Buu and Goku fight. And he's like, "Oh, you're the best. I've always tried to get past you, but you always try to become stronger than yourself and meet your own limits. You're the best. I admit you're. That's it. That's his whole central character conflict from point A to point B. That's the end of it. And he's found his perfect niche right there at the end. The problem is, I think, with Dragon Ball GT Vegeta especially, is they have nothing to say with them. It has no even said. Super tries to recycle what they did before and tries to take it in new directions, which is good, but GT is very stagnant as a character. And I think that's the problem with Dragon Ball GT's Vegeta. It's a very stagnant portrayal of Vegeta, except for the mustache.
Yeah, I think all of what you just said, I honestly couldn't agree more with, and that's why Dragon Ball Z Vegeta could never be part of this discussion today.
No, it's
It's
just
it's the
don't love him.
it's the perfect. I mean, people will say that Dragon Ball Z is the story of Goku. If you want to talk to somebody who's a little more in touch with the series, they'll say it's the story of Gohan, Dragon Ball Z specifically. But you could also say it's the story of Vegeta in a bunch of different ways too. Definitely not as the main character, but as a secondary character. And I say that because
Oh
he
yeah.
does have the firm beginning as the evil dude. I'm here to extinguish and exterminate all life on the planet. To, hey, I'm no longer a prideful asshole, and I'm willing to say that you're the best, and I'm willing to do what I can to help serve you and protect this planet. Like, that's as full circle as it gets.
Mm.
So, Dragon Ball GT, you're right. First of all, the one of the bad things about GT is, and
One of?
yeah, all right, not one of, but one of the many things
There we
that are
go.
bad about Dragon Ball GT is that they don't use Vegeta enough. Like, they
Mm.
made that active attempt to get back to the formulaic thing. They tried to reset the age of their audience, basically. They'd said, okay, 1996, 1997, Dragon Ball's now been on the air for 12 years. Our audience has probably aged up. Let's try to hook in a new generation of young kids with the same sort of formula that we had in the initial Dragon Ball series. We've got little kid Goku. He's teamed with a girl protagonist, and there's an adult-ish male in either, Yamcha or Trunks in the case of Dragon Ball GT. And that's the formula they went with. They cut off all the rest of these awesome characters they built over the last 12 years. we all know that that ultimately ended up being a big mistake. And they eventually kind of course correct when the baby saga happens and they start getting the other Saiyans involved. They get Vegeta involved. But even Vegeta in that saga there is not really Vegeta. He's Vegeta possessed by Bebe.
Maybe. And
So
that's, I think, the big problem with that first arc of GT. You know, the first half of GT, when Vegeta appears, he's barely really in it. He appears as like the dad, which okay, you know,
yeah, he's
cool.
out taking Bola shopping and driving her around in a car and trying to give her like a normal like kids. I mean, as normal as a rich kid can get, like a life experience.
Yeah,
It's nice.
that's cool. I don't mind watching, and I think Super did that too very well in some of their smaller episodes early on. Seeing Vegeta just be a dad, I like that. I think it's that honestly is the best new element to both Vegeta being a parent. I think that really is such an interesting ground because it was only really covered previously in the Boo Saga. I feel Super doesn't explore that as much, at least not in any new ways. I feel Super Vegeta, when they bring in the dad element, it's very much recycling what they did out of the Boo Saga with Young Trunks, or Vegeta kind of coming in contact with his older version from the future in the Cell Saga.
Mm,
I feel they do a few things that are really cool, but I think with GT Vegeta, one element that I like about GT Vegeta is his relationship with Bola, with Bra, depending on what version you're watching.
yeah.
I think that element, unfortunately, is never done well enough. But the idea of Vegeta having a daughter and like literally changing his entire image based on his daughter making fun of his mustache, like that alone is just such a great element of his character. Him like
Yeah.
growing the mustache and shaving it, just good stuff.
Just realizing that he doesn't want to get trolled by his daughter anymore. And that
No, yeah, it's great. It's so simple. It's so small, but it's like that's the kind of like liveliness that really makes the character interesting. I know a lot of people like make fun of that scene, like, oh, it's terrible. How I think it's interesting. It's different. It's funny. It's that kind of awkward dad humor that like you really hate to watch on sitcoms, but when it's a character who's blown up planets being like beaten by like his daughter like bullying him and shaving a mustache. It's some good stuff. It's different.
yeah, no, you're right. That is that juxtaposition of just such a powerful man being put down by the words of a teenage girl is never not gonna make me laugh. Yeah.
Oh,
So I think he does kind of. I think that's one of the only redeeming qualities of Vegeta in Dragon Ball
yeah.
GT is having see him more as like a devoted father to his daughter, especially. He's very much
Mhm.
daddy's protect. He's very much like the protector of his daughter or whatever. It's very interesting to see him treat Bra or Buddha. I'm gonna go back and forth on that, so get used to
Yeah,
it.
it's
But
all good.
it's very interesting to see how he treats her as like a younger child, as opposed to
Mhm.
like Trunks as a younger child. It's two completely different worlds. Like he babies this little girl so much more.
Oh yeah.
So seeing him as more of a family man in GT is one of the more redeeming qualities. I also like, and I don't really know if you could say it's like a good or a bad or a redeeming thing or whatever, but what I like about GT Vegeta is, and it's sort of thrown on him too in a lot of ways, is in relation to how Dragon Ball Z ends, is he's still pretty comfortable not being the guy. Like he's more than happy to just have a family. And again, it ties
Mhm.
into the family part of it, but what Dragon Ball Super has to do in order to kind of reset the clock on the Vegeta, bring it back to on the Vegeta, bring it back to pre the end of Dragon Ball Z, where he hasn't made
Mhm.
peace with that part. Although he has, you know what I mean? Like he makes
Yeah.
that's what drives me bananas about Dragon Ball Super is that in order to make Vegeta a viable character again, or
Mhm.
be able to have him have these moments, I say again because
Mhm.
it's a like you said it's a lot of retread in terms of territory or in terms of scenes. They kind of have to like disavow or just like conveniently forget maybe some of the things that he's done previously in order for him to do it again. One of those things being admitting like, hey Goku, you're number one. Yeah, I'm here to support you, bud. Like Dragon Ball Super comes around and it's a much different set of circumstances given that the gods get involved and everything like that. But
Yeah.
I like in GT that Dad Vegeta, GTita. I've been calling him all sorts of weird shit all week. GT Ida, Jetita, Dad Jita, Mustache.
Mustache is the only actual answer on that
Yeah,
one.
mustache.
It's very
So
hairy in in GT. I mean, first he gets a mustache, and he becomes a giant golden ape, then he becomes a Super Saiyan 4. He's a very hairy guy.
like I'm
He
down
looks like
with
a Robin Williams consistency of hair.
I'm down with the facial. That's one of the other things I don't like about GT Vegeta too.
No, yeah.
I'm
I mean,
fine with
it's
the
not.
I'm fine with the facial hair. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you cut your hair, bro? That's not cool. That's not how Saiyan's hair works. I've been
Yeah,
told a lot
weird.
of different things. That doesn't make sense. What the hell?
Yeah, that one. That one I agree. I don't like that at all.
The
I
hell,
never understood
Toei?
that.
Jeez.
Like, it
So
looks like it makes it look boxy. You know, it makes the head look like a big box. It doesn't
yeah,
look like distinct anymore. I don't know. He
like
lost like half his height.
I'm saying, Vegeta's already vertically challenged, man. He could use those extra 3 to 4 inches
Yeah.
of the tops of his spikes of his hair.
Like at that point, he's just bullying. At that point, making him cut it like that.
Maybe that's
I'm,
why. Maybe that's why he cut off the tops of his spikes. Maybe his daughter made fun of him again.
yeah, that's what I think. It's the only way I can imagine that working out.
It is
And I
Bulma.
do.
It is Bulma's daughter, man. I imagine she's got the biting words.
Mm, yeah, and one thing I do like about GT Bulma, not so much Vegeta, is that Bulma is still very useful. Like she's still like in every point of the series, she's necessary for these guys to get from point A to point B. Like they couldn't function without her half the time, and I think this one especially.
So before you and I jumped on our call here tonight,
Mm-hmm.
I've watched so much Dragon Ball my entire life since I was 6. I don't keep in touch with all of the series all the time. Mostly it's just in my head all of the time. But I figured for this I should watch episodes 59 and 60 of Dragon Ball GT where he goes Super Saiyan 4. Bulma comes in, does the Blutz wave thing, makes him transform. Which also, by the way, if Vegeta was to kind of get back into fighting, he probably wouldn't want to do it with the Blutz waves, but also I could kind of understand the desperation, so I'll give him a pass on that. Anyway, Bulma being useful. He does the transformation that goes Super Saiyan 4, and there, he suggests, let's do the fusion dance. And everyone's like, wow, Vegeta, you're suggesting to do the fusion? That's wild. So they need to get him time. Trunks steps in and kicks Omega Shenron in the gut, and Omega Shenron smacks him around. And the next person to step in, you've got like Goten, Gohan, Pan, I think, are like the 3 other people in the immediate area. The next person to step in to try to buy them time is Bulma sitting in the Blutz wave seats, just blasting waves at him like, fuck off, piss off, Ghost. I seriously said to myself, man, Gohan, how's it feel? Man, when Bulma's more useful than your dumbass.
Oh no! Well, Bulma's just the best character in the whole series. I think sometimes, like as I've gotten older, the more I'm like, no, Bulma's like top 5 best characters in this whole show. Like, as a kid, you're like, oh, let's go with the fighting, but no, Bulma, like fucking every time I revisit Dragon Ball Z, I just like Bulma more and more.
Every step of the way. Bulma's always been one of my
time.
faves. You got somebody calling you out in the chat over here. Let's see. Let's check in the chat real quick. Dad Jita. Oh, Dan beat me to the punch on Dad Jita. Full circle. Obligatory heckler here. This is from Ninja Nazumi. Again, we're doing for the podcast listeners, we're doing a YouTube live stream tonight. We're trying to do these once a month on Sunday nights at 9. So be on the lookout for info on those. But this is from Ninja Nazumi. Obligatory heckler here. You have now been heckled. Vegeta GT is lame. JK. Kept my promise to heckle you, Ant. Oh, you got fans, bro.
He's good. He's a good guy.
Melchiori. Don't touch my Bulma. Did it for me. Super Vegeta wins. That's a great point.
Okay, yeah, that's one of the. Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll
we totally will get there. But I think that
that's-
just kind of like reinforces the idea of, like family Vegeta, but also like I'm a passionate lover and I love my wife Vegeta, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm down with that version of Vegeta as well.
Yeah, that's one of the best scenes in the entire Super period. But I'll get to that in a bit. I have feelings about that.
Ant, you're echoing a little bit. That might be me.
Oh, I am?
Hopefully the echo is since subsided. That might have been me. So if the echo has gotten better, let me know. Dan Berardi, having a daughter changes everything. Very true. Tames the beast, doesn't it? You big weightlifting man. Little Mango Art. Yo, Ant. I really don't GT. Very behind on Super. I watched through Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Cool, Little Mango Art.
Yeah, she's good. She's good. She's a good egg.
You should catch up on Super. GT, I'll give you the pass on that. Unless you want to watch the last like 6 episodes, then you should do that because the ending of Dragon Ball GT is gonna forever make me fucking weep like a big old
GT's
baby.
finale is amazing.
Ugh.
Vegeta has nothing to do with it, but
Yeah,
the ending.
well,
Here's a
actually,
small
yeah,
bit.
and
Actually,
that line.
Ooh. Okay, actually, no. Actually, now I say that, I do have thoughts on that. At first, I'm like, no, but like, wait a second, hang on. Yeah, he does.
It's really just the one line, unless you want to talk about Vegeta Jr. But
well, no, I think it's a couple bits in that.
Oh, when you're talking about when he flies over to his head and Goku does the shh, and then when he says to Pan, he's like, hold that close, hold that deer, about the key.
Take good care of it, something like that. Yeah, that gets me because he's the only one who picks up on the fact that this is.
He's the only one who knows exactly. Everyone else is like, Goku, you're just going to hang out with the dragon. That's very strange. We've been calling this dragon up like once a month every fucking year for the once a month for the last 30 years. Now you're just gonna go take a flight with him. Vegeta's the only one who picks up on it, and it's so heartbreaking when it happens.
Him and I think Piccolo and Roshi, I think, are the only ones that pick up on it. Because Master Roshi, I think, gets it.
Yeah,
when he visits him.
He might. Yeah, I'm not sure on the Roshi one.
Piccolo definitely, I think, but.
Well, I mean, he goes to hell to visit Piccolo, so yeah. Piccolo's like, "What the fuck are you doing here? I just got you out of here last week, man."
Yeah, I think Roshi to an extent, but I think definitely Vegeta and definitely Piccolo. But I think Vegeta's the first one to figure it out. Out of the entire crowd of very intelligent people, he's the only one that knows Goku enough to know what he's thinking. I think that's really good with Vegeta, but I think also Super definitely does more with Vegeta in certain respects.
So
but I don't know if I agree with most of what they do.
So I think I've kind of already given you the good for the GT, the bad for the GT. Not enough Vegeta. The Blutz waves.
Let me give you my big issue with Vegeta. I think it's going to tie in with everything you're going to say.
Okay.
I think everything you're going to say is going to tie in with this. I think we both have the same issue. What does Vegeta actually do of any value to the plot of GT?
He is the villain who is he's the villain for the Baby Saga. The only reason Baby ever becomes a threat is because he takes over Vegeta's body specifically, and then he's the way in which they defeat Omega Shenron. When he shows up, has the plot armor, Blutz wave, thank God your wife's a super successful scientist thing, to go to Super Saiyan 4. He suggests the fusion. They transform into Gogeta, and that buys them enough time for
Nothing.
Jesus, maybe it's pointless.
Yeah, the thing is, as cool as Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is, and it's cool, what value does he actually serve in the plot?
The value is they figured out by episode 59 that they didn't use Vegeta enough in the first 50 plus episodes, and that they needed to figure it out. And then they finally got him in there. Then they got the cancellation notice a couple weeks later.
Exactly, basically. And it's funny because with Vegeta, there's one great scene with Vegeta where he's fighting Omega Shenron. This is after, I think it's at the second to last episode of the series, and Goku, they think he's dead, and Vegeta is just fighting Omega Shenron as an untransformed Super Saiyan. Maybe he's just a Super Saiyan, and he just gets his freaking shoulder impaled.
With the spike, yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's brutal and vicious and violent, but it doesn't accomplish anything. It's not like what they do would have stalled for time long enough. He was just standing there. Omega Shenron wasn't going anywhere. He wasn't leaving that spot. They weren't trying to. It wasn't like with Kid Buu when they're trying to buy time for Goku to make the Spirit Bomb stronger. He's just. I mean, he's building a Spirit Bomb, but it's not like Omega Shenron notices it. So it's not like that fight serves any real purpose in the plot other than to give Vegeta one last stand against the big bad. But it doesn't affect anything.
No.
And that's the big problem with, I think, Vegeta. He's either useful because someone else inhabits his body, or he does something that looks cool but doesn't really accomplish all that much.
Yeah.
Whereas Super does stuff that actually matters to the plot. With Vegeta and Super, his actions do impact the story. And I think that's my big problem with GT in general. Most of the characters don't do anything that really affects the plot in any way that's not superficial.
And again, though, I think one thing that you need to consider, and it's one thing that I meant to kind of illustrate, but I don't think I did it well enough. There are things that are going to affect both versions of these characters that is no fault of those characters. It's pretty much just a fault of the series and how long it was. Like, GT's only 64 episodes. By the time they figured out what they wanted to do, they got Vegeta involved. The Baby Saga really kicks off once they get back to Earth and they take over their first Saiyan. It's like between episodes 25 and 30, somewhere in there. So halfway through the series, they finally figured out, like, hey, maybe we should use all of these awesome characters that we've got in our arsenal here. So they course correct, and then 30 episodes later, it's over. Dragon Ball Super, they kind of already know that they don't have to go down that route. I don't think they had the benefit of knowing that it would go basically twice as long as Dragon Ball GT would. But I think what they did have the benefit of was, 23 by the time this actual series comes back, 22, 23 years of hindsight to say, this is what people like about Vegeta. Both in our canon entries into the series and all the other forms in media, the movies, the video games, all of this stuff. We know that people want to see Vegeta do these types of things. We know that Vegeta, we know that people love what Vegeta does, when he shows up and delivers the badass line, or he shows up and, delivers that clutch save. Like, there's a very formulaic approach to Vegeta and Super, which is good and bad, I think. But what also kind of stinks is they have to rewind certain aspects of Z to be able to have these moments again. And I think they do to their credit, they do a good job, like, redoing those moments. The one that really sticks out most in my brain as, like, the prime example is Vegeta's sacrifice in the Tournament of Power. It's literally the same exact thing as Majin Vegeta's sacrifice against Majin Buu.
Majin Buu. I was also baby there for a second. Wow.
So
I got too much GT in the brain. Wow.
Yeah, get it out.
Screws the brain.
So
it's terrible.
I don't know. I think that GT Vegeta didn't have the benefit of long. Like, if GT went for 120 episodes, I would like to see what Goku and Vegeta, because at that point I think they would have figured out, wow, this show's a lot more fun when Vegeta and Gohan and Goku and Trunks and Goten and Oob, maybe less Pan, and Little Mango are actually in the chat, did point out Pan is very, very annoying. I want to say
Pan wasn't used right. That's the problem with Pan. She could have been a great character. Like, she could have had a lot of potential as a character. The problem is GT writers just didn't know what they were doing. Like, they didn't have like, Toriyama didn't know what he was doing either, but he had a really good editor. But Toriyama's strength was he was good at improvising. He was good at just making up whatever came to mind, just making it work. Because he was good at building tension. He was great at the moment of tension, the moment of conflict. He was great at, like, getting. Because he didn't really think ahead. He thought of, right now, this bit right here. Whatever this bit is right now, he's going to make it the most intense thing, or the most funny thing, or the most... Whereas I think with GT, they just didn't have that spark. They didn't have that improvisation skill.
No, and I think with GT, I mean, it's no secret that it was continued on by the studio because they're like, yo, Dragon Ball makes money. So I can't blame them or, like, really be surprised by the fact that they're not writing those kinds of compelling character moments like Toriyama aimed to do, no matter how, like, shooting from the hip, flying by the seat of his pants, whatever it may have been. You're right. He understood characters in moments of tension and, like, what made characters work or tick, or however you'd like to put it. With the people who carried on with Dragon Ball GT, they didn't have that frame of mind going into it. They just were like, let's do some cool shit. It took them 30 episodes to realize all of our ideas for cool shit really aren't that cool. Let's kind of fall back on some old basics. And by that time, it was all canceled up. Vegeta kind of becomes victim of that. So does Gohan. So does Goten. So does Oob. Oob is one of the biggest disrespected characters in Dragon Ball GT, in my opinion.
Say Piccolo too, to a lesser extent. I think Piccolo at least has the virtue of doing something, but it's done in such a weird way. I don't know.
It is. The two Piccolo moments in GT that have always stood out to me are the way he transports himself out of heaven by fucking shit up and getting transported to hell, and then reopening the portal with Dende during the Super 17 saga. But like that's a weird, but the way that evil Gohan kills him with that Kamehameha in that X pit circle, like the visual will always be burned into my brain of master killing student, even though it's student killing master, even though it's a evil possessed version of said student. Those are like the two big Piccolo moments. Vegeta,
and he blows up too on the planet.
Yeah, but
yeah, that's bad.
But with Vegeta, like, does he even have moments like that in GT? Not really.
He fuses,
and he
gets his shoulder stabbed.
Yeah, he has somebody help him cheat his way to SSJ4, and then he suggests the fusion, and then he gets his shoulder stabbed.
Oh, and he grows a mustache.
Oh, yeah. Duh.
That's one of the what's the fun thing though? Isn't it funny that a gag scene is one of the most memorable parts of his entire character moment in the whole show?
Is that surprising? No, and yeah, I don't know. Dragon Ball has always been, except Dragon Ball Z for the most part. Dragon Ball's a pretty funny show. Like,
oh god, yeah.
Some of my favorite Vegeta moments in Dragon Ball Super are the funny moments. He's got a ton of badass moments. Let's talk about the good Dragon Ball Super moments for Vegeta. So,
okay,
I've already talked about they've rewound. All right, so but with the understanding that they had to rewind it a little bit so that we can, retread path in various territories, but also have new different moments too. What are some of your favorite parts of Dragon Ball Super Vegeta?
Okay, so the one thing that comes to mind the most is the sense of vulnerability. One thing I love about the end of Dragon Ball Z with Buu Saga is how Vegeta says, "Oh, everyone's soft. I have family. I love and he admits he loves them." We don't really see that too much in Dragon Ball in the Buu Saga, but we do see it a lot in the beginning and middle of Super, especially with Beerus. Because the whole time he's terrified I love that we see he's terrified. I love that vulnerability. Because previously, Vegeta has been very self-driven. He was never really afraid of an external force as much outside of the weird thing with Broly in the movie where he's just panickingly terrified of Broly.
Don't get me started on the Broly stuff, man.
I'll hold off on Broly. But I like how we see him terrified of this god who his father was growing on before and all that. But then we see, the moment. Oh, I mean, in the movie, it's the moment. In Battle of Gods, it's the moment that, Bulma gets hit. But in the show, I think it's a little delayed. But at the same time, you still see this immense passion in response to protect his wife from this. And that's just such a great moment. And it's so powerful. And it's great because we see that Vegeta and Bulma are equals. We see that very much in Super. We don't see it too much in Z. We don't see it too much in GT. But we see really in Super how Bulma is equal to Vegeta. And I love that dynamic between them.
So, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you just hit on one of my most underappreciated things about Dragon Ball Super is the fact that Bulma is kind of brought back not only a little bit more consistently into the fold, because you could say she's been there pretty consistently throughout Z, but Dragon Ball Z, she's very much in the role of damsel in distress if she's in any role at all. And in some cases, she's like that, whatever the heck that word I'm looking for is, where she's the magic solve to the thing, and she's invented a device for
plot
that.
Device.
She's a plot device. I thought it was a fancy term. Deus Ex, fuck it.
Deus Ex Machina.
God damn.
God the machine.
Yeah.
There we go.
3 beers deep, but Bulma's that. So, those are pretty much
without any.
those are pretty much the only roles that she serves in Dragon Ball Z. But in Dragon Ball, my favorite series, and Dragon Ball Super, which I won't say is better than Dragon Ball Z, but I think it might, when it's all said and done, several years down the road, if Dragon Ball Super stays in its current 1 to 131 the way it is, I'm going to enjoy parts of Dragon Ball Super a hell of a lot more than I enjoy parts of Dragon Ball Z. Bulma returning back to her feisty, I don't give a shit who you are. Oh, the god of what? Smack. You're being an asshole. Cut it out. That's one of my favorite things about her. Part of it's bred from ignorance and not knowing who she's speaking to, but also if she did know who she was speaking to in that case, I'm pretty sure she would have smacked him up anyway.
The thing is, we see once she does know who she's talking to, she still doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
She still doesn't care.
It's
and that's
beautiful.
Great.
That's
amazing.
It speaks to what you said though about them being equals in a lot of ways, and him kind of being really cool and down with that. Dragon Ball
Yeah.
Super Vegeta being all about his family is definitely one of the highlights for me as well.
And I feel it's one of the best things about that character, developing that direction. And I do think that, again, we do get to see the Goku Vegeta rivalry in a way that's interesting because we never really saw them train together. They were always very separate. And I do think that while Super does retread a lot of ground, we do see Vegeta and Goku's relationship change significantly. We see them become very on the same page. We see them working together to become stronger. And I think that is, I mean, not the whole series, obviously, but we see enough of it so that we realize that while they still have a rivalry, it is still growing from where we last left off. I
Yeah.
think that's very significant.
I think the one thing that people would most complain about Dragon Ball Super is that it's very much the Goku and Vegeta show. But here's the thing. We talked about it a minute ago. Dragon Ball GT, it took a little bit to figure out what the heck they wanted to do. By the time they figured out to bring in Vegeta on like a consistent basis, it was too late. So when the show comes back 25 whatever years later, they're like, "Hey man, we got to get Vegeta as involved as we can in this thing cuz Vegeta and Goku as that, bro kind of thing where whether they're in a rivalry or Vegeta kind of firmly accepts his supporting role as the number 2, even though I think Super's finally getting back to that point where it's interesting and you can kind of question back for the first time in a while who could actually be number 1 in any given moment.
Yeah, they're close.
I feel like it was on purpose though. When they brought back Super, they're like, yeah, man, no, we have to not only dial back this rivalry to that point to make it interesting for the sake of the character, but like also that's the fun stuff. And if we put Vegeta and Goku in these situations again, that's the other thing for Vegeta too. One of my favorite things about Dragon Ball Super Vegeta is he's never had any like real masters until we get to this point in the series. He goes on to train with Whis, and that's really the first time that we get to see him, trying to be an obedient student and try to better himself in ways where he's not approaching something as like an arrogant dick for the first time in terms of when we've been able to see him. Seeing different aspects of him with his relationship to Goku and the training aspect part of it. And now that he's got a master involved in his life, all of that's some of the funniest stuff to me, some of the best stuff.
And he becomes a master in a small sense too.
Ooh, whatever do you mean?
Oh, I mean a certain other kid from some other universe. What's his name? Oh,
it's
not Table. I mean, it's not Table. I know that much.
It's not. It's not Tarble.
Tarble, whatever his name is.
Oh, but we do know Dragon Ball Super did confirm Tarble and Tights and Jocko and Jocko. They're all canons. Anyway,
no, but I do love how Vegeta takes up his own student. It's really cool. I mean, it's like just it's a cool concept, and and they never really did that before. Even with Trunks during the Cell Saga, they never really got into that dynamic. But I just think it's it's just different. It's cool.
Well,
they don't do enough with it, I don't think.
No,
they do.
That's one of the biggest wasted opportunities in Super was not going to see Universe 6 and Planet Sadala.
Yeah, no, there's a lot in Universe 6 is a lot of I want to say squandered. That sounds. They do a lot with Universe 6, but there's so much potential they could have done that they just simply don't. And that does affect every other facet of the series. I think Hit gets a lot of time, but the rest of the Universe 6 crew doesn't really get their time in the sun. Not nearly enough.
No. And that isn't to say we won't ever get to see it. Hopefully we will. But that's what drives me, separate and independent of Vegeta stuff. That's what drives me nuts about Super, is they set up all this possibility to go explore, and then they were like, fuck off. We'll be back in a bit. And now here I am, like 2.5 years later, pulling my hair out. So, all right, Dragon Ball Super Vegeta does take on that master role for Kaba, and I think there's more to come on that. I think, assuming that when the series comes back, it's called Dragon Ball Super because that's what the comic book is still called. I can't imagine they won't go down that route or that road of Vegeta eventually getting to go to Planet Sadala. Like, there's almost no way they don't go down that road eventually, whether it be in the series or in a movie or whatever. So more to come on him in terms of his, master student relationship there. one of my favorite things about Vegeta, GT,
Mm-hmm.
Sujita, Super Vegeta. One of my favorite things about Vegeta and Dragon Ball Super
There you go.
is we talked about the family a little bit, but we mainly talked about it in terms of his relationship with Bulma and Bola. Kid Trunks, okay, he makes good on the amusement park thing, and he like is very protective of him and whatever. That's cool. Seeing him interact with future Trunks again several years
Mm-hmm.
after the fact, and seeing the differences in that relationship there through the Goku Black and Zamasu arc, those are some of my favorite Vegeta moments as well in the series.
Agreed. It's because you get to look at this thing post development. You get to see it post all this growth. And I think that's really cool. I like how they explore that relationship more after where it left off on in the Cell Saga. I think it's really cool stuff.
Because
I
it's
don't know.
so distant in the Cell Saga. Like
Yeah,
Vegeta when he says bye to future Trunks when he goes to leave, he's just like, I'm on a tree.
yeah,
This is me holding up my two fingers. Goodbye. But like
yeah,
now, I don't know. I feel like Vegeta would probably have left it off like, hey man, you want to come visit for dinner next week sometime? Like
yeah.
you could just tell. That's the other thing too, is being able to see future Trunks versus Kid Trunks in the same scene, and seeing how Kid Trunks is on his way to developing into a spoiled little rich kid, as where future Trunks was, born into a world that was absolutely demolished and decimated, and everyone that was in his family was killed or murdered by these, androids, whatever. Seeing
Hmm.
that juxtaposition is really fucking fun, but seeing Vegeta treat the two Trunks as very differently is very interesting as well.
Yeah, it really does draw a contrast to the person that it's just really good stuff in general. And I really think that you basically put it perfectly already. So there's nothing really to add on that front. I agree. I do think though it's interesting is not just simply Vegeta's reaction, but also Future Trunks' reaction to all of it. And I feel that's a great example of how Super excels, what does better with characterization, because you get a sense of like, okay, these characters are playing off each other in different dynamic ways, and the strength of all of Super's character moments, it's based on characters reacting to one another and to where they are in different places and how they've grown since the last time they've interacted. And that's something that when you compare it to GT really comes into full view. GT doesn't really have that. GT doesn't really have characters responding to each other's growth. They just kind of have them act to move the plot forward.
Yeah.
Super really has a lot of those moments where you really get to see the characters breathe and talk and hang out. And that's one thing that Super Vegeta really has that works for them. For him, it's more dynamic. It's more social.
One thing that I
Good.
think some people don't like about Dragon Ball Super Vegeta, and I go back and forth on it
Mm.
personally, is and I think it's more indicative of the series writ large rather than how they treat this specific character, but he's too many punchlines. Like he's the one on the ass end of the
Mm.
joke against all those scenes in episode 69 with Arale from Doctor Slump, and all the
Mm.
goofy stuff he does with him in the pacifier and the copy Vegeta saga. Ugh.
Although I do like how the dub version of that does have like Ocean's
Yeah.
Vegeta. I forget the actor's name. I'm sure it's
Brian
please
Drummond.
drive me.
Yep. No.
There we go. I
Yeah.
like that. That's some good
That's
stuff.
literally the one thing that's redeeming about the copy Vegeta saga that I wrote down and I put in parentheses. Um, let's see, copy Vegeta except Brian Drummond versus Chris Sabat.
Yeah, that's the best part. Because
Really was.
especially as like an old school like Toonami fan, that for me was like watching that. I'm like, wait a second, because you watch it subbed obviously. But when you hear it dubbed, you're like, oh wait a second, that's it's really
Yeah,
cool. I
yeah.
don't like anything else in that art, but I
And
like that
and
bit.
for a while, like when after the series was over and all we had to kind of hold us over each week on Saturday nights was the dub versions of it. That wasn't too long after the series wrapped up. Like the series wrapped up March 27th, I think, of
Mm-hmm.
18, and then I think that dub came out in late May, maybe early June. Like that was a really fun thing for all of us to experience together. In terms of the sub version of that whole arc, I'm just like,
Mm. Painful.
I guess it's cool the kids are involved a little bit for once for this stupid do nothing arc where Vegeta's sucking on a pacifier and fading away into nothing, and also there's a purple Jello version of him. Real fucking cool this is. It wasn't.
The
It
pro-
wasn't cool.
problem is it's just bland, and it doesn't have any impact really on anything. It doesn't really change. Like with all the really strong arcs in Super and Z, yes, once it's done, has the story shifted? Has it turned on an axis in any way? Has the world been altered in a way you can't go back on? And I think that arc especially, and that's the problem I think with a lot of the Super and GT stuff that doesn't work. It's when you're just not pushing forward. You're not moving beyond. You're not moving to the next step. You're just kind of doing like spins in place,
Yeah.
making a lot of you're seemingly making movement, but really you're going nowhere.
Well, that's Dragon Ball Super as a whole for me. It's
Mm,
they're in this, static kind of period between end of the Buu saga and the end of Dragon Ball Z. They're in that time window. I just wish that they would graduate beyond that by for now. But it's like we can't do really anything super of consequence because we've already decided this thing that happens at the end of Dragon Ball Z is still going to happen. So we can't do anything crazy out of the box. As you know, not that they really would anyway. One thing that I like about Dragon Ball Z or even the first series of Dragon Ball, they do time skips really well, like breaks in sagas, and then you've got a 3 year, a 5, a 7 year jump in some instances, and then you come back to these characters, and it's like an artificially injected kind of sense of character development because you haven't seen what they've gone through, but you know that 3 years have passed and now they're a little different, or they do this better, or that doesn't bother them as
mm,
much, or whatever. Dragon Ball Super doesn't have that benefit because they're stuck within this window. And that fucking
exactly.
drives me bananas. But what it ultimately equates to or results in is just a ton of redoing the same thing over and over again. That's why you get things like Vegeta's sacrifice and the Tournament of Power basically being, in some instances, shot for shot in terms of the memories he has and all that shit, in terms of the lines he says. It's the same sacrifice from the Buu saga. That's why you get
Mm-hmm.
something like Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, or Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta, where it's kind of different, but it's kind of not different. We've kind of already accepted SSB, but if we get to the end of Z and something else happens, it's not really that big. Like, stop doing these things that are ultimately non-consequential solely for the sake of not having to move beyond this period of time. Don't do it just for Vegeta. Do it for all the characters. Get me Oob in this bitch. I want to see Oob.
Yeah, same basically. Oop, I just want to see now.
I want to see him barefoot and whooping ass.
I want to see Goku training Oob. It's gonna be freaking cool, and I would love to see what they do with them. Like in terms of creativity, there's so much potential for that character, and they do. I don't know. There's a lot of creativity they can exploit, and I really hope that as they go forward, they engage with that post Z arc. Because the problem with Vegeta currently is they can't push his character beyond where it ends. You know, like he's essentially after Boo, he's the same guy after Boo, and as long as we're stuck in there, we can't drastically deviate from that perspective. But there's a lot you can do after that. You can do some more cool stuff after that point. There are ways you can really evolve the narrative in ways that are really creative. And I feel like the big problem with the big twist in the super manga that everyone got pissed off about is that it's unchallenged recycling. It's not.
What do you mean?
I mean, what I mean by that is this: you could make the argument that this is Vegeta being self-critical of himself, but
The comment
we,
about this is again the moral comment that Moral says to him, "You think you're not going to hell, you spiky-haired weirdo?" And he says,
there
"No,
you
I'm
go.
going to hell because I've killed literally billions of people. It used to be my job." In regards to that comment, which is good because that's where I kind of wanted to wrap it up for us and bring it back to. So
Exactly.
you're helping me land the plane, baby. Go ahead.
Oh, it's always a plan. Always a good idea on that front. We went through that already at the end of the Buu saga. He literally was wished back by Shenron, who deemed him to be not evil. Like he went to hell in Buu saga. He had the same conversation with Piccolo right before like sacrificing himself, where it's like, you're going, all and he comes to terms with his sins. He accepts his punishment essentially, but he comes back and redeems himself through his actions following that. and he's redeemed, essentially. He's deemed worthy of redemption by Shenron.
Hmm.
Which then tells me, okay, we just went through this. We did this entire arc done much more subtly, surprisingly enough, in Z.
You know, man, here's the thing about that line to me. To have a strongest reaction to say, this line totally undercuts everything we've seen in Dragon Ball Super from Vegeta. First of all, get the fuck out of here, Edgelord. There's nothing that could ever be said in one speech bubble that could have you act so dramatically unless you're just trying to get retweets. All right? That's point number one. I genuinely just took this line as like, yeah, I guess I'm going to hell. I'm a villain. I'm a badass. Like, I've killed lots of people. And that was basically it. Because Vegeta knows, like, the reason I'm even here being able to say this to you right now is to defend the planet. Oh, by the way, I just punched out a bunch of bullshit or whatever energy out of your stomach with this forced spirit fission technique. And I just revived a whole GD planet of Namekians. Like, Vegeta knows that even though he can't undo his past and it's set in stone and it is what it is, and this is me thinking of this without even considering that Shenron Piccolo discussion you just mentioned. I didn't even think of that. That's a million miles from my brain.
Yeah, that came to mind when I was hearing this drama, laying the controversy mull in my head a little bit. That was a little bit of a... Anyway, sorry, cut you off
No,
there.
it's cool. So to hear that part of it kind of played into it for you, all right, that's understandable. But for me, I just kind of considered it like, yeah, I'm a badass, but also I know what I'm doing now, and I'm here to protect the world, and I'm not going to really let it bother me. I didn't think that it was him being like, I'm a villain and I'm going to kill Goku when this whole thing's over. And that's kind of how I felt like some people were reacting to it, just for the sake of being dramatic. Or, again, for the sake of having that edgy take of, GT Vegeta's better. Which I think if you listen to the last hour of me and Ant talking here, that's just unequivocally fucking wrong. I mean, Dragon Ball Super Vegeta does have things wrong with him, and the only reason he's able to have these cool moments and be a better character from GT is two things. One, the retread of having moments that we already know that they liked, and then B, 20 to 25 years of hindsight and what those moments meant to the fandom, multiple generations of the fandom. So when they reboot Super, it's like, yo, man, let's pull out that Vegeta sacrifice shit. People are suckers for that. They're going to cry their eyes out.
And plus, I think a lot of people who are writing Super now, on top of just the knowing of what fans want, a lot of them are fans. They grew up with it. With Toei, I'm sure some of them were fans of Dragon Ball Z already when they made GT, but they were looking at it from a business perspective, first and foremost. They knew they had a product which needed to continue to be good. And I would say Toei also knows they have a product that needs to be good too now, but they are hiring people who are enthusiastic about Dragon Ball Z. You know, the manga we mentioned in the one episode I was in previously, it was written by one of the guys who worked on a fan manga for Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball AF manga.
Toyotaro, yeah. If you haven't seen me and Ant's discussion from last month, our first discussion in this series, we discussed the origins of Dragon Ball AF, and he schooled me on how Toyble eventually grew up to be Toyotaro, who is the dude who is helping Akira Toriyama make every manga chapter each month.
Yeah, exactly. He's a fan. He's an enthusiastic person. It's like, if you're gonna make something right, let the inmates run the asylum. Don't make, let them go just nuts with it. And I feel there's a bit of a more of a, is Super flawless? By no means. By no means is it flawless. It has tons of problems. But these problems are negligible. They're manageable. All work has problems. All stories have problems. It's just, are you willing to look past these problems as just necessary bumps in the road to keep a story going, or are they going to crush it for you? And I don't think Super has done anything that crushes it quite like with GT, because every character is doing something. It may not always be good what they're doing, but they're never forgotten like in GT.
Yeah,
GT really forgot everyone.
They're literally just put on the bench for long stretches of time. But I think you hit on something important too, is that a lot of the things that we just picked out, whether it be about Super as a series or Vegeta even, the problems that we have with it aren't specific to the character of Vegeta. They're just kind of, you know, facts about the series. You know, it is what it is. So I feel like, honestly, looking at the series as a whole, despite its problems, if you want to look at it from, especially if you take that perspective of it's the Goku and Vegeta show, Goku. If you haven't seen that Totally Not Mark video about the flat circle arc of Goku, it's a beautifully explained thing.
Oh,
but
it's excellent.
It's so true. Vegeta, on the other hand, I don't know if you could call it like a full arc unless you consider the beginning of Dragon Ball Super truly the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. But at least Dragon Ball Super, there's a little bit of an arc there, or at least there's moments that build off previously established history in the previous series. That's where GT was like, he's an old man, he's got a mustache, he takes his daughter shopping at the mall and shit, he's kind of just like a driver, he could fly her there, but she has a very fashionable hat collection that she does not want to lose in the wind. I always think I would pick flying if I could pick a superpower, but honestly, it's probably cold, and it probably wouldn't be very fast unless I was a Saiyajin. So maybe I'll just pick teleportation and instant transmission. Anyway, instantaneous movement, excuse me. I can't say it in Japanese. I feel dumb. So I think we're both on the same page, though. Super Vegeta over GT, if you will.
By a significant margin, I'd say.
Yeah, and if you disagree with that, you're fucking wrong. All right. So let's check out the chat. Let's see if we got any more last minute comments before we wrap it up for the night. Again, we were doing a live YouTube stream. Me and Ant are trying to do these once a month, usually on a Sunday night, specifically about Dragon Ball topics. So if you have
any topics you want to talk about,
for sure. If you got topics, if you got recommendations for topic suggestions, dbsuperdope@gmail.com. We got the socials at dbsuperdope on Instagram, at dbsuperdope1 on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have a handful of people hanging out with us here tonight, so thank you guys for taking the time. We appreciate you and getting in with some of the comments. Let's see what we got.
No, seriously, thank you. It's really wonderful.
Lil Mango Art. So her fave is Piccolo. She gave me a bingo on something, or maybe she gave you a bingo. I bet you it was you. She gave you a bingo.
Might be. I'm not sure. She's a good egg. She's really good.
That was a great.
Her art's really nice too. She's a really good. She's a whole Twitter thing. Really, you should check her out. She's good too.
Word, Lil Mango Art on Twitter. We'll check you out. Brian Melchiori, patron. If you want to get lots of stupid extra shit, patreon.com/Dragon Ball Super Dope. I say that because Brian is our patron there at the $5 tier. Brian Melchiori. Super brought a lot of character development to both Vegeta and Bulma. I don't know if it brought development for Bulma so much as it just brought her back to being a full rounded character in her badass self.
Gave her a lot to do for sure.
Yeah. Also kept his promise to spend time with family. Very true. Bro Vegeta. All right, Bro Vegeta, that makes sense. The suit with the whiz symbol goes hard too. Yeah, it does.
Oh, and Vegeta in a green jacket.
Man, I wanted that, but I don't want to buy SH figure arts. But yeah, no, I got the if you're watching at home, I got the Whis. What I like about this armor is it goes back to, still like the no shoulder armor. It's the darker grays though, is really what I like about it. Instead of like the dark blue or whatever. What else do we got for figures? Well, I got the figure on the brain. All right, I showed this one to you before we started the stream.
Pretty great.
I've shown this one off on Instagram stream last week, I think. I got this Mexican bootleg Mr. Satan in from, did I say it's Mexican already? Last week. So this has quickly become one of my favorite characters or favorite figures I've got for sure. It scales really well with Super Battle Collection, the 90s series that Irwin brought over to the States and all that. So I love that. But then also he came with interchangeable heads. One for the GT head is the one that you just saw, but he also comes with like a regular little Dragon Ball Z head that I've since popped off and put onto a Super Saiyan 3 Goku head. So he's got a little bit of a lean due to the pen cap being less than perfect. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So if you're listening to us on the podcast version, now if you want to see this cool little my first attempt at a cool little custom figure, I guess. You have to go check out the YouTube video now. So youtube.com/Dragon Ball Super Dope. That's a thing that is real, that you can put into an internet browser, and it'll bring you to the area generally of where this video will be.
Hopefully you don't make a typo and find porn by accident.
Hopefully.
Or maybe optimistically.
Or, yeah, maybe you do find porn. I mean, maybe that's cool, too. Few more comments here. Hello, yes. GT Vegeta is better than Super Vegeta, in my opinion, at least. Ooh, Kid Muffin. All right, Kid Muffin.
Fighting words.
I got a bail, but I just wanted to show you guys my support. That's from Ninja Nazumi. That's your friend from before. Same. I got work tomorrow, Kid Muffin said. I'm glad I discovered this podcast. Oh, that was nice of you, though. Nerd News Happy Hour. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you, baby. You guys are phenomenal. You guys want... Cheers to the Nerd News Happy Hour.
Check them out, too.
Are you friends with those guys, too?
Oh, yeah. I think it was with Nerd News. Oh, no, Nerd News. Oh, I'm thinking of a different one. They're good, too. What am I talking about?
Nerd News Happy Hour.
Thinking of the hops.
That shit is dope. Super dope. Sujito wins, according to Melchiori. Melchiori, have a good night, brother. Talk to you soon. Yo, Mexico and all of Central America goes ultra hard for Dragon Ball. That's very true. Yeah, episodes 128 through 131, me and the guys were watching live videos every week of people watching them on huge projector screens in bars and just flipping the fuck out about final eliminations during the Tournament of Power. So
I just
cool.
I wish that I spoke Spanish, or Portuguese, depending on which country in South America it is, or Mexico. And I just wish I could just been at those bars. That would be amazing. Yeah. Everyone going nuts. Oh my god.
I would have sucked it up, man. I would have just been like, yes, I'm ignorant to what you guys are saying specifically. However, I understand the sentiment you are expressing. I too am excited. So
basically.
Super dope. All right, guys. Thank you all to those who popped in with some comments in the chat. We'll have the podcast version of this up. If you just found us tonight, like apparently Kid Muffin did, we are podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. YouTube is a place where podcasts are, and we are there as well. Dragon Ball, what the fuck is it? YouTube.com/Dragon Ball Super Dope. Rate, review, all the places where the podcasts live, helps other people find the show. Tell your other Dragon Ball fan friends about us, because that helps us as well. If you have suggestions for me and Ant's next discussion, hit us on the socials, dbsuperdope@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail, 401-213-9596. I'm pretty sure that's the phone number. If it is, go me in my memory. If it's not, then
you may have called a bank.
You called something that's not me, but also the phone number somewhere on the internet. Just look for it. Jesus, open your eyes. That's what my mom would say. Open your eyes. And I'd say, I can't. Mom, I'm blind. I need glasses. And she'd be like, you don't need glasses. You just want to look nice. And then I go to get my driver's license and I pass with a 98 in the pouring ass rain. And then I go and get my eye exam done. And they're like, dude, we couldn't give you a license if we wanted to. You are so blind. And then you call your mom up when you walk out and you say, hey, mom, remember how in the 3rd grade until now I've been telling you I need glasses, but I can't get it because you're on your fucking health insurance and you won't pay for them? She's like, where? What happened? I'm like, I didn't get my license because I'm blind. I don't want that to happen.
Sounds like a very personal problem.
Sounds like an oddly specific story.
Very specific.
All right. And thank you so much. Where can people find your writings, man?
CBR.com. I have a lot of stuff on there. Anime Feminist have stuff. Anime Herald now. I have a few publications all over the internet. Look at my Twitter account. I usually post stuff on there. That's Twitter, AGRAMUGLIA. Not Twitter straight into that, twitter.com/AGRAMUGLIA. You can check me out on that social media there. Usually I get links from there usually to other publications I have stuff all over the place.
And we'll have links in the show notes. We'll have links in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
Necessary. Anthony Gramuglia, in case you're trying to remember how to spell it, but the G is silent. All right?
Yes, there we go.
Those Italian last names.
He's going to be cringe when you mispronounced it right there.
Yeah. Gramuglia.
Marketers get it wrong all the time.
Exactly. And that's the reason, for those who don't get what we're saying here, Ant has a silent G in his last name. My mom's married name is a silent G in her last name. So, yeah, I also have heard tons of telemarketers just massacre the fuck out of some ridiculously Italian last names, man. Respect.
Indeed.
So that's going to do it for Super Dope tonight. We appreciate you guys checking it out and hanging out. And we will talk to you guys again soon. Super Dope. Vegeta from Super. It was the best one. I guess is how we're going to end that now.
I guess so.
I think I want to try the other one. You can hit stop. Super Vegeta is a real cool dude. I think I like that one better.
That works a little better.
Way better. All right. Talk with you guys later. Thank you for checking out the stream. We love y'all. Peace.
Okay.